So I'm just double checking that now. Hopefully we can fix that, because this is something that really needs to be talked about. Just bear with me for a moment. Alright, so today we're going to talk about the News Media Bargaining Code, the new law proposed, due to come through on the 28th of August. So the Australian government has released a draft of the News Bargaining Code, a new law that could result in significant negative impact on YouTube in Australia. It's also Google and Facebook. So here we have a actual copy of the open letter that was sent a few days ago. So I'm just going to read some of this out for you guys. So the Australian government has released a draft of the News Media Bargaining Code, a new law that could result in significant impact to YouTube in Australia and the creator ecosystem that you have built and loved. As it stands, the proposed law provides unfair advantages to larger news businesses and anyone else online. I have found a few.
Powerful new Mucinex cold and flu day and night.
She's here.
Symptoms, power through the day, rest during the night.
So apparently Australian YouTubers and Australian Google users are in some big trouble. Basically, a proposed law would make a dramatically worse Google search and YouTube experience for Australians, which could lead their data being handed over to big news businesses, which sounds completely awful to me. They say a bunch of things like, oh, it's hurting the free services you use, your search data may be at risk, the way Aussies search every day on Google is at risk from new regulation. Basically, this proposed law looks like it's going to be very terrible, and this has been their letter to the YouTube community. Long story short, they say that they are particularly concerned that it provides unfair advantages to large news businesses over anyone else online, including the very creators that make YouTube YouTube. Well, in fairness, YouTubers have felt like that for a while, that other types of channels on YouTube have an advantage, like for example music channels and all that, but that's a topic for a different day. But they say that this would mean that Australians could receive fewer views and earn less. It could create an uneven playing field when it comes to who makes money on YouTube, and YouTube believes that they should not be required to hand this data over, but if the Australian law goes through, then obviously they have to comply with it. So yeah, this seems like an overall terrible situation. For any Australians watching that know anything about this issue, feel free to enlighten me in the comments about like the extra details about it. Laws tend to be pretty extensive, so I'm pretty sure this is like a bare bones like review of everything. So it seems like this would affect anyone in Australia that uses Google and YouTube, which are basically the two biggest websites in the world. So that sounds absolutely terrible, and I just wish there was some sort of way that we could help them. I know immediately everyone's going to tell me, oh, there's a change petition here and a change petition there, and we could definitely try signing those and trying to get a lot of signatures on those. But ultimately, what do those do other than bring awareness to something? To my knowledge, those petitions don't actually end up accomplishing anything. If you have seen an instance where they do, feel free to tell me in the comments, but you know, just through my experience, I've seen that they don't really do anything, especially in this situation, because this is a law. This is all up to the Australian government and their lawmakers. I seriously doubt making a change petition with like even over 1 million signatures would actually do anything, unless there are some politicians who see that and they say, oh, you know, they're right, this is bullshit. But remember, this is just a proposed law, so it hasn't happened yet. This letter is more of a warning than anything. But yeah, it does seem like it'll have a big impact on Australian YouTubers. So hopefully this gets sorted out and this law doesn't end up passing or it gets reformed in some sort of way. That's pretty much it for the video. Please let me know what you guys think in the comments. Please leave a like on the video and subscribe for more. See ya.
Australian Competition and Consumer Commission has hit back at what it calls misinformation from Google. Well, Shauna in the Cube has been looking into this. Shauna, what more can you tell us?
Well, Josh Frydenberg, the Treasury Secretary in Australia, tweeted this earlier on this month upon the release of a new draft law. Now, that draft law would make companies like Google and Facebook pay for news that appears on their platforms. He said as technology develops, as platforms increase their market dominance, their regulatory framework needs to adapt, saying that by allowing media to take a cut of ad revenue, it would level the playing field for journalism within Australia. But this new draft law certainly has not come as welcome news to Google, who is just released an open letter to Australians a few hours ago. The managing director in Google saying some very harsh language here, saying that this new law would mean that it would dramatically worsen Google search and YouTube, could lead to your data being handed over to big news business, and would put free services you use at risk in Australia. But that language has been strongly rebuked too, this time by the Australia's Competition and Consumer Commission. Now, in their letter, they said that this was misinformation by Google, that Google would not be required to charge Australians for use of its services unless it chooses to do so. It would not be required to share any additional data, again, unless it chooses to do so. What it did say is that the draft code would allow Australian news business to negotiate fair payment for their work. But here in Europe, this is not a new conversation either. Back in 2014, Google pulled Google News out of Spain because Spain...
There's a new proposed law called the News Media Bargaining Code, and the head of YouTube in Asia Pacific has come out today with a blog post and some tweets against it, explaining exactly what it means for creators. Now, the algorithm within YouTube is extremely important if you're looking to get ahead, if you're looking to get extra views and you're wanting to grow your channel, much more so than many other platforms, say TikTok, which will automatically pick up good content and push it out to others. Within this blog post, there are actually three major points that have been discussed. One seems specifically based around the algorithm, saying that large media and business within Australia can uncover or can request extra information about how YouTube works in the back end. So that would mean that they would understand more about how the algorithm works, be able to set their keywords, their trends, even things like their thumbnails to be able to attract more views, taking views away from those people who aren't privy to such information. The second point is around monetization on YouTube. What makes YouTube so different and also so appealing to so many people is that Google natively serves ads on your content. If you have 1 million followers on Instagram, 1 million followers on Facebook, or even 6 million on TikTok, you're not natively making money through that platform. They're serving ads against the content that you're releasing to your fans, and they might be interacting with that, but you're not being remunerated for that whatsoever. However, with YouTube, that changes. Now, also proposed under this law, big businesses and media will be able to request extra special remuneration under this clause. It may be similar to some other platforms like Twitch, for example, which you can request actually a better CPM if you're a larger creator and have more pull on the platform. That doesn't necessarily natively exist within YouTube right now, with creators needing to join this kind of partnership networks to be able to get better CPM out of what they do. So YouTube claims within the blog, as you can see here, that will allow the larger media creators to take more money away from those common denominator small creators and pump it more into the pockets of the big companies. Now, the third and final point as well is that big businesses under this law could potentially request extra information about how users use the data and how users use YouTube's products. So pulling this extra data will be only applicable to these large businesses under this proposed law, but not available to the smaller creators. So what it really looks like they're doing here is they're trying to pitch the smaller creators and the singular people out there trying to make it on YouTube against the big businesses. It's going to be an interesting topic and something that I'll probably cover and definitely be reading into a lot more. But as a quick wrap up, there are three things that have been proposed here based around big businesses being able to receive more information as to the back-end algorithm, how that works, be able to request more money from YouTube and also more data than anybody else can, which YouTube claims can give them a massive bonus and an extra benefit over the smaller creators and singular people and small businesses platform. Mel Silver, on behalf of Google Australia, has written an open letter, which we will also link down below for you to take a look at if you'd like to participate. Google is also calling for their users to stay up to date with more information coming out and also to participate in this, lobbying against the law to be released. More news to come.
Yeah, so that it's really good to stay informed, even if it's not going to affect you. It's good to know what's going on as well. Hopefully the audio is fixed in this one, so I don't have to do it again. Once again, thank you guys for watching, and I hope you enjoy your day.